Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Keep Your Customer Happy and Loyal with End-to-End Innovation. I'd like to say a really quick thank you to Reuters Events for putting together today's webinar. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chris Frankland, founder of InsurTech 360, InsurTech Innovators and Chief Innovation Officer with CareBridge International, global thought leader and mentor to startups. And I've spent my entire career building products and solutions that leverage people, process, technology, and data to reimagine the insurance and customer experience. So onto the topic of customer experience. It's a well-accepted truth that innovation must be driven by the customer. Customers expect individualized products and offerings that truly reflect their needs. And with customer acquisition being as costly as it is, investments in their loyalty will be a key differentiator for success in today's ultra-competitive insurance market. Whilst claims management has received a fair share of attention at the moment, as the moment of truth for insurers, true customer centricity cannot be achieved without looking across the entire customer journey. I'm joined today with a terrific group of industry thought leaders, global thought leaders, as we take a close look at what it takes to create the 21st century customer first insurance provider. On that note, without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists. I'm thrilled to be joined by Melanie Kill, Claims Transformation Director at AXA, Elena Tishanka, Head of EMEA Industry Practice at SAS, Giuseppe De Rosso, Director, Global Divisions at Swiss Re, Dylan Bourguignon, CEO at Social, and Michal Hucal, Head of Customer and Data International at NN. So welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us today to talk about, again, a topic that's very close to my heart, and I think one that is critical as we do think about what that future customer experience looks like. So before we get started, I just want to remind everybody, please get your questions in for the panelists. Once we've gone through listening to everybody's comments and thoughts, we will be answering audience questions. So please keep those coming. And we'll get to those in the second half of the presentation. So, Melanie, I would love to start with you and let you kind of give your thoughts and perhaps an introduction as well.
Thank you, Chris. So yes, Melanie Kill, Claims Director, Claims Transformation Director at AXA. I'd like to talk a little bit about what we've done in particular around digital claims for the customer. And then I'll also tick back quickly to the topic of what does it take? How do we keep being innovative? So at AXA recently, we launched our digital STEP program, which is end-to-end claims. And really, if you look back 10 years, 20 years ago, customer expectations were very different. Before the pandemic, we started to see an uptick in people wanting faster interaction online. You know, there aren't many industries where you can't just get online and get what you need, and insurance was perhaps a little bit behind in that. So we were keen before the pandemic to address that. And the pandemic has really just accelerated that for us. So we have launched digital claims, and we really did that around customer choice. You know, what do customers need? What are they wanting from the claims system and the claims journey? And how do we make that more efficient for them as and when they need it, rather than driving down a digital channel? So we've done a number of things there. Customer voice was central. We needed to understand from focus groups and insight groups, what do customers want from this? What do they want to see improved? And then how do we harness our innovation to make sure that we can deliver that? And that was around making sure we were using data very well, using AI, in-house built models to augment decisions and move along that value chain in claims quicker. How do we build on our platform and integrate with suppliers to get customers through the journey in a far more simplified way, but always coming back to the customer is key. So it's not about us driving a digital journey, it's about us offering a digital journey where that works for customers. But, you know, in claims, sometimes what's needed is being on the phone. What's needed isn't digital, it's that empathy from a handler. So we have built something, I believe, that really is focused on what did the customer want? What does the customer get from this? And if I think, and we've had great success with that actually, we've been able to see in claims, things like moving from notification to repair can now take 7 minutes. Previously, that would have taken days, maybe weeks. getting to salvage and having a car removed, down to 20 minutes from notification. So these are all things that help the customer in those simple claims where they need it. We want to do two things. We want to expand out now and make sure that we can do beyond claims. You're right, in your opening remarks, you talked about, there's been a tension around claims management, but we have to think end to end. And if I just come back briefly to, what is it that makes this possible? What do you have to do to make sure you're innovating always with the customer at the heart? I think one is that customer voice, right? You have to understand, you have to ask them, what does the customer want? Understand the journey, understand the pain points, and understand what they would like to see improve. Then you need to make sure you're harnessing and leveraging data to digitize or to innovate along that journey, whatever that journey may be. We have to harness and leverage our data. Third, I think you have to take an iterative approach, test and learn, with the customer voice central in that test and learn as well. And you have to have the right talent in your organization, talent who wants to innovate and talent who is passionate about the customer.
Melanie, thank you so much. And I'm really happy you touched upon the kind of balance between people and technology and thinking about empathy. I'm sure we'll come to that later once we start diving into some questions. So thank you for those comments. Elena, we'll move over to you, and if you'd like to introduce yourself and share your thoughts. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Elena Tishanka, and I'm leading customer experience practice at SAS for EMEA, and I'm focusing also on insurance business development. And Melanie's speech couldn't have been the better introduction for my thought that I wanted to share with you also as a representative from a technological company. So technology is a powerful force in innovation, there's no doubt, obviously. But on the other hand, and we've seen and we heard that with Melanie, thought leaders state that innovation is about people, passions, and talents, so not only technology. So what is a real driver? My guess would be collaboration and cohesion of both. People with empathy and experience, as you said, and technology for insights and automation. But as today's discussion states, to keep our customers happy and loyal, this collaboration should occur across different company processes that has impact on customer. So I'd like to share a few thoughts about that and how maybe some examples of how technology supports this end-to-end innovation and people across the insurance value chain. So I'll focus on three key topics: how data and technology help relevant customer communication and impact insurance processes, how AI add value in an industry where human relationship is such a predominant thing, and how technology could help also break in silos between different processes and provide the ability to look across the customer journey. So starting with relevancy of communication. Many insurers lack or claim to lack contact with their customers because this is one of the biggest obstacles indeed to become really customer-centric. But unlike in banking or like in retail, we do not really navigate as insurance customers through an app unless we have some issues there. But is it really about a contact or about the relevancy of the contact? So every day we receive so much information across different channels, but only few of them really spot on. So I think the real strength of technology is not about the ability to communicate through many channels, but to be able to elaborate insights that can become triggers for the meaningful communication. And this communication could and should occur in different moments, onboarding customer or during claims handling, but even during the normal, during the quiet period when customer has nothing special. So I'll share an example from a German insurer we work with, and with the goal to become relevant, they focused on data about their customers and also the environment around them. Small changes in that data reflect potential events in customer lives. That can be a change of address, that can be a birthday, or for example, weather warning or burglary serious in a neighborhood. The company uses those signals to understand more on what's happening to our customers. And it's not only about customer experience or sales. We think it impacts on everything. It impacts on underwriting, on preventing claims, as well as on customer loyalty. So the contextual communication produced really good results, and in terms of customer response from one hand, but also it benefits across the entire value chain. And by the way, it could be leveraged both in automated communication through direct channels, for example, as well as insights that we could provide to our agents, for example. And here we touch the second point that I wanted to discuss. What is the right balance between AI and human contribution? So insurance industry is still heavily relying on human interaction. So risk needs to be explained, and claims handling is also a delicate moment. So what is the role of AI here? Is it going to kill this human interaction? Or can chatbot, for example, be leveraged explaining live products? Let me bring another example here. So with Canadian insurer, we worked on Ella, a digital coach for clients. Leveraging artificial intelligence, Ella has proactively helped them, some millions of clients, actually providing them with so-called bright ideas. What are bright ideas? So there are different tips and personalized reminders. So did Ella substitute agent interaction? No. But did she help to warm up customer communication, to shorten sales cycle with agents? Yes. So it's really more than sales. It's growing relationship with customers. So as we see, in the end, it is technologies that can help this integration between different business processes. Typically, different insurance processes challenges are addressed separately. So there are niche products to enhance the claims handling, underwriting, as well as customer loyalty. But today we face more and more how much those processes are codependent. So getting the right price, we need to take care of risks, but also of customers' value and sensitivity to price, right? As well as right customer engagement could help us to prevent claims, maybe. So insurance providers must really look holistically at innovation through the customer journey. And technology helps to connect those different dots because it aims to create this unique customer view and orchestrate decisions across different moments of customer life and touch points with insurers, right? So therefore, one strong unified strategic platform able to connect different data points and stakeholders is the key for the successful end-to-end innovation.
Thank you, Elena, for those comments. More thought-provoking words there. Certainly, I love your point about innovation being about people as well as technology. A critical point there. Giuseppe, over to you, mate. Welcome. You'd like to share some thoughts and a quick introduction.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon to everybody. Just a quick intro. I currently work at Swiss Re. I'm a director and I lead the business that we call Solutions, Life and Health for the global clients, for the 45 largest global relationships, very big, sophisticated clients. And this is the business which, goes over the traditional business. It has a lot to do with platform, data analytics, tech, and consumer. In parallel to that, I enjoy some time in, working in building the ecosystem across, incumbents and insurtechs. And I have created with another pool of friends, the Swiss Insurtech Hub, which is a nice think tank. So what I would like to do today is to bring a couple of thoughts and perspectives to the discussion from two main angles. The angle number one is the incumbent angle, and the angle number two is the insurtech angle. But let me start first with a few observations around what's happening in the industry. The industry is not a very consumer-friendly one, and I can say that because I started my career back in the days in consumer goods, where it's very different. This is an industry where historically the balance between shareholder value and customer value has not been very much balanced, so to say. Anyway, after COVID, we have seen an acceleration of a number of trends at level of the consumer, and therefore what insurers do to be more consumer-centric. So something along the lines of the digitization, humanization of insurance, and there is a there's a broad spectrum of, transformation happening within the insurers themselves. They're trying to equip themselves, with their skill set and minds. So said that, what I see today in the industry. So if I think about life and health, retail, protection space, and I put on the head of of the incumbent, so through the lenses of big clients, right? There is a few things happening along the lines of platforms, ecosystem, utilize data and tech to uncover insights, nudge behaviors, access new customer pools, crafting new partnerships, new distribution partnerships, developing new products in a shorter time frame, trying to keep or upscale the traditional distribution channels, right? From our perspective in Swiss Re, what we do, we actually try to listen to the voice of the customer, right? As Melanie said, where our first customer is actually the big clients themselves, right? So we work alongside a broad spectrum of C-suite to understand the needs and really trying to focus on the few things we want to do where we think we can create value for them and they can create value for the customers, which at the end of the day for us is, platforms, proposition development, the new products and data analytics. If I put on the other hat, which is the head of the insurtechs, I have to say they're way more nimble, more agile. They do not necessarily possess, all the means that we might have in Swiss Re or some other big clients in terms of service, but they typically pick a specific, niche of the value chain, and they do it pretty well. What is important, super important for any type of consumer-centric innovation is the keyword partnerships. 3 years ago, maybe 80% of the things that we're selling and do for my clients were in-house. Today is the other way around, is done in partnership. So this is a key word, and maybe we can pick it up later. What is critical for success to last point? I think a few things that came up already is around culture and talent, right? This is an industry that is not super attractive for the type of new talents we need to attract to make the transformation, the customer-centric transformation. This industry is competing against, the Google, the Amazon, just to make a couple of examples. The second thing is the partnership, and we can come back to it later. And the last thing is the horizon of the innovation. This is an industry where there still is a big potential to create value in the traditional way, whilst innovation takes more time. And I think shareholders have to be a bit wary of the balance. If you really want to do innovation, you have to accept a different horizon. And that said, back over to you guys.
Giuseppe, thank you so much. Really fascinating statistic on partnerships there, which I think certainly we hear a lot about the importance of collaboration and partnering with insurtechs and incumbents alike. So thank you. So we'll certainly come back to that. Dylan, I believe you are up next. Welcome today. Would love to hear your thoughts and perhaps share a few words about yourself and social.
Sure. I suppose we exist because precisely the industry is not keeping its customers happy and loyal. I think actually at this point in time, the insurance industry not keep them happy and loyal, it's gain happiness and loyalty. There was a YouGov survey before the pandemic, so before we've had a further kind of negative impact on the popularity of insurers due to the kind of the debacle that took place, in particular with business interruption, but many also within the consumer world found quite disgruntled that they were still paying for their motor policy for an entire year, and some insurers were being very gracious and giving back £10, which didn't really represent the fact that there was zero risk, considering they couldn't even use their car. I think 68% of adults believe that insurance company would not pay out genuine claims. So Chris, you started off by talking about the claims being the point of the moment of truth I think we just need to focus on actually doing the fundamentals right. And unfortunately, I don't think it's something that can be done by optimizing what is, in my view, a inefficient and non-optimal system. Because if you optimize, you're optimizing for the wrong, for a suboptimal solution. And at this point in time, we actually have to rethink insurance end to end. And it's not just about technology. You know, the fact that we are still selling insurance policies that are 30, 40 pages long, written by lawyers for lawyers, got nothing to do with technology. And that is completely non-customer centric. So let's not kind of lose sight of what really matters. And if we really mean about customer centricity, then it starts with a mindset. It starts with basic stuff like the policy wording. Then you have to actually start thinking, okay, so why are we having such a poor kind of trust of consumers? And if you ask consumers, well, how they feel about insurance, like they pay a lot of money for it, and then when they claim it's a poor experience. Now, there are fundamental reasons why that is a situation that we have. And, you know, the industry, for example, never talks about fraud. That's part of the reason we've actually end up with a really poor claim experience, and why your premiums are jacked up by 15, 20% in consumer lines. So you really need to think about holistically from a systemic approach of how to solve the problem. Because at this point in time, just optimizing claims independently of policy wording, policy admin, independently of distribution, independently of the kind of the pricing, all that does not lead to a better solution for consumers. That's our view, which is why, and actually, to be honest, when I got onto this journey, I would have much preferred being able to just optimize on one segment of the value chain and try and make it more efficient. The reality is you can't change the customer experience. You don't change the paradigm unless you change the customer experience. And that means you've got to control the end-to-end journey from start to finish. That's why we are Fully Legal Authority MGA. We've created a new model of insurance which addresses the core issues of insurance, which are at the root. That's misaligned incentives, lack of consumer centricity, fraud. We address all of them. We've created this consumer win-win insurance, which is amazing if you need us, rewards if you don't. The rewards if you don't is you can get up to 80% money back every year if you and your friends don't claim. The amazing if you need us, it's more reliable, transparent, you know exactly what you're buying up front. It's a great kind of price up front, and you also have claims which are 5 to 10x faster than anybody else. That kind of, but that has been done having a very holistic approach to the insurance value chain. And it did start actually with a very different policy wording, one that is designed to pay out claims as opposed to trip up customers. That's kind of my take on the issue. And I think it's not an easy one to do. Listen, we are very well placed to agree so. But it is a mindset shift that needs to take place. And then you can then implement technology, data, and all sorts of tools to fundamentally provide a truly consumer-centric proposition. Well,
Dylan, thank you. Thank you for those comments. And I think certainly, you know, thinking about the customer-centric approach that we're all very much, I think, committed to building and providing. And I think particularly the comment about the insured understanding what they are insured for, what they think they're insured for, and perhaps what they should be insured for. There's always, in my opinion, the kind of unbalance that we often see there comes to the fore during that claims journey and claims experience. So I believe we have Michal to wrap things up for the comments, and then we'll move into questions. Just one quick point, please do bring your questions to the panelists. We have a terrific group, a lot of global thought leadership here who are very passionate about improving the insurance and customer experience. So please do ask those questions. Michal, over to you.
Good afternoon to everybody. So maybe a few words about the group which I represent. So we are an insurance company focused especially on the life insurance in international part, which makes us totally think about some of the popular differences. We are the market leader in the Netherlands and active international in Europe and Japan. Apart from insurance, we provide as well retirement services, pensions, investment services, and banking. We have 18 million valuable customers in the Netherlands internationally. With quite some footprint in Europe, with distribution through many channels, which plays important role in the responsibilities that we have at the moment, including 8,000 paid agents and the bank banking work without the most important to us. So our ambition is to be an industry leader and also for our customer engagement, talented people, and contribution to society. And this element of the customer engagement, I think, is one of the most difficult for us as an established incumbent.
Michal, sorry, can you just move a little bit closer to your mic to see if that?
Sure.
We'll get the close-up of you, but hopefully we'll hear you.
I'm very close, so I think it's
there we go. I think that helps.
So maybe it will be better. Yep, so good.
Excellent.
So as I said, the ambition of NN Group is to be industry leader known for our customer engagement. And our strategy translates into specific actions related to it. So we would like to be relevant, personalized, be convenient and simple, and we would like to build trust through positive cross-selling. There is a lot of change currently happening in NN Group to move away from the traditional insurer model. And we believe that the requirement of success are organization with culture of customer focus, which includes heavy investment in technology, which was mentioned several times by the other participants, is to be attractive for talents and to play a positive role in society. A holistic approach to customer satisfaction and engagement requires moving beyond traditional value chain of life insurance, in our opinion. Concentrating on sales acts and claims reduce in life insurance drastically touch points number, therefore limits possible interactions to improve customer relationship. In NN Group, we are testing right now if it's possible for us to extend our value proposition in the area of self-care and retirement by providing useful digital content and digital services. Those solutions are supported by third parties, by the other tech companies, by startups, by scale-ups, in the area of telehealth, daycare solutions, senior assistance, but also fitness or mental health apps. Our idea is to be much more relevant for our customers and create real reasons for having positive interactions with them on a regular, even weekly or daily basis. It doesn't mean, of course, the claims process or anniversary visits are not important. This is the core of our business. However, we feel that an improvement of these areas is not enough to be competitive anymore. That's why our strategy covers both customer engagement platforms development in the digital space, and our strategy focuses on the engaging with customers by combining agents and digital capabilities. The biggest barrier of such a transformation is simply lack of experience in building frequent customer interactions. It's a big shift to move from once a year push-type anniversary visit to pull-type digital engagement. It requires from us completely different mindset and project skills, like agility, experimenting, and efficient scaling on very different markets. The test and learn approach requires courage to fail and to learn from it, which can be easily lost in the corporate world, not being protected and encouraged. Fortunately, initiative is fully supported by senior executives, both in the head office, but in business units as well, which plays a very important role in our organization. On technology, let's be honest. Life insurers are not not famous thanks to the advanced technologies. But it's obvious for us we should speed up with both digitalization of standard processes like claims, support much more customer data analytics, and provide new digital solutions thanks to cooperation with startups and tech industry. Currently, we are advancing on implementation of Salesforce for several countries. Our new data platform based on Azure was successfully implemented in the first countries recently. And for the customer engagement platforms, we integrated digital solutions of 5 advanced specialized players to provide holistic experience for our existing and future customers. A lot of things happening, but also a lot is ahead of us, according to our ambition to be industry leader, for customer engagement, which is really a serious challenge. Thank you.
Cheers, Michal. Glad we could hear you. They're a lot better. Thanks for your comments and sharing that with everybody. So right on time, that wraps up our initial first half of the webinar. Some really terrific, fantastic thoughts, I think, from everybody there, thinking about the customer journey, really thinking about the entire insurance value chain and how we can use people, process, technology, and data to transform what I think has sometimes been quite a challenging customer experience. So moving to questions, we're starting to get a few questions in. I do encourage all of you to keep asking questions so we can get some good ones out to the to the panelists. I'll kick off here with one from Colin, which is interesting. To everybody, you're all open to answer this, but it's kind of UK focused, but I'll let you all chip in. Do you think the insurance industry in the UK is really embracing the benefits of connected usage-based insurance, safer driving, first notice of loss, speeding up claims with real data? We don't seem to have moved beyond young novice drivers, maybe 4 to 5% of connected drivers. Dylan, you might have some thoughts on that. I think for everybody else, perhaps you can share your thoughts around some of those more innovative insurance models that we are starting to see kind of enter the industry, and perhaps what are your thoughts around those and kind of the penetration within the market going forwards? So Dylan, anything you'd like to share there?
I mean, I think the Colin's point is quite disappointing to see that there's not been more adoption with these solutions. And sure, but let's try and think about where those innovations came from. It's not a consumer-centric solution, and it is designed by underwriters to reduce the risk. Now, as a result, you don't expect consumers to be rushing out to try and get it. I think one of the mistakes the industry made is say, oh, wait a minute, look, telematics was amazing in cars to reduce the risk of, so let's try and bring that into home and have connected homes and have IoT and all sorts of devices in your home. Let's just take a step back and think about where we stand with regards to the trust of the consumers. I mean, you're basically asking a customer to turn your home into Big Brother house. Now, if the consumer does not trust insurers, they're not going to allow that to happen. And I think a lot of the innovation that took place quite about 5 years ago kind of quickly found out it's either kind of data geeks who love to kind of track everything. And, there are some people. Also, people want to check out on their pets throughout the day. And they had really good opportunities. So it's those were the kind of use cases which really engaged consumers. But I think that the challenge is, what is really appealing to a customer, and as opposed to being designed by the insurers for the benefit of the insurers, and try and find a solution that really is consumer centric.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. Let me sort of add a bit more to that question, I suppose. I mean, on top of that, what innovational technology perhaps have you identified as being beneficial to the customer? And I'll open that up to everybody else to expand on. Elena, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that one.
Absolutely, and I think it's also very much connected to the previous one. I think I wouldn't say a specific technology, but what really drives change is to be able to communicate with customer real time. And that's about relevance, and that's about being meaningful, and that's about being contextualized. And that's a real shift that can occur in the industry. And again, coming also back to the previous question, the introduction, for example, of telematics, it didn't go really well everywhere. In Italy, we've seen it a little bit different. There were different drivers. Geography makes a lot of impact in Italy, so there were cost drivers. Otherwise, if there are not, there should be relevance, and it should be something that makes important to a customer within a specific context, within a specific moment. So that should be not just a kind of understanding of what the customer is doing as a tool of control, but as a tool that communicates to a customer how he can improve, he or she can improve, how he or she could benefit from a specific behavior. And that's about this real-time technology, to be able to address different moments of customer life at different stages with the relevant information that comes right now. If it comes a claim, that's obviously something that we would expect more and more in insurance, but we would expect also something that occurs every day, contextual to a weather alert. So going also more and more into preventative insurance and addressing those points, thinking about maybe proposing to a customer a specific service that can avoid taking a car because today is going to be ice on the road, and so on and so forth. So real time, it's a real, I think it is real driver of change for insurance industry.
Thanks, Elena. I think that kind of touches upon the actionable insight, right, side to technology, not just using technology for technology's sake. Giuseppe, great to see you using the tools here. I see your virtual hand is raised.
Yeah.
Any
Sorry,
thoughts?
my cat is here. Sorry. Can you hear me? Sorry. No, I want to say a few examples, right? And again, focused on the life and health, protection and savings. So in protection, I think the technology, again, is an enabler. It has to prove value to the consumer, but at the same time, it has to prove value to the shareholder, right? Otherwise, it's the incentive, or going back to, the horizon of payback of this investment is that doesn't quite look attractive. So a couple of examples. Number one, health and well-being. So we say engagement platforms that, through the platform integrated in API with wearables, basically can engage the policyholders and nudge healthy behaviors, right? Those healthy behaviors are good for the individuals and are good for the shareholders. They're good for the individuals because, an engaged customer typically buys more insurance, 20, 30% more, stays longer, up to 3-4 times. And, we know that, early lapses or cancellations are a big destroyer of value. And then there is, we have seen that coming up in the industry already 7-8 years ago with Vitality, and now there's more and more, including some very interesting startups building those platforms for the insurers. Now we're moving into, the stage 2.0, maybe 3.0, that goes beyond engagement and goes, okay, as we engage and collect data, as underwriters and actuaries, can we have the confidence that we can actually, offer a dynamic pricing, right? Rather than give you a fixed pricing, or at least give you, for any new product, a way more hassle-free, quicker, underwriting journey. The second thing that I see, again, in health and wellness is, value-added services built on top of this platform. So think about either standard lives or unhealthy lives, telemedicine platforms. And again, I see in the insurtech space very interesting things. So there is a way, to triage the patients and save money for the insurer, but also give a better patient journey to the patient himself. A third thing, which is more general, is what I would call, which is key for, especially life and health, is key for innovation, is consumer engagement along the life cycle. Right. So at age 25, you get into a policy. 5 years later, life event, we've spoken about it. You get married and kids or whatever. Can we find a way through apps, gamification, to find the right moment in time to offer the right product, the right cover, and the right ancillary services? Right. I've seen very lately a couple of very interesting platforms where based on your pension scheme, you take a quick need check, and you can check whether you're underinsured, underprotected, and you can get something on top. Claims, big topic, right? Up is a super enabler, triage, fraud preventions, but again, a better claims journey. I think what we're going to see over the next 3 to 5 years, very interesting things if we have claims platforms and underwriting platforms. How can we put them together and kind of automatize and standardize in a very objective manner the so-called feedback loop, which up to date in the industry has been done in a very manual way, right? So when we write a new product, taking into account the claims history, can we actually design better products at more at a better pricing? And finally, if we get out of the protection world and we move more into the savings, which is another big component still of F&F, all the big pattern around democratization of savings and investing via, for example, robo-advisory. So bottom line, lots.
Lots of opportunity. Melanie, I'll give you a chance to chip in, and Michal, we'll get to you after that.
I think Elena and Dylan summed it up perfectly. I think it's about, as Dylan said, it's about relevance to the customer. We could spend a long time looking at every single innovation and trying to build it into what we do and say, ta-da, here's something new and sexy. It has to be relevant to the customer. It has to help the customer. And then, Elena, your points about how do we make sure that what we're doing, the really exciting bit of innovation is how do we make some of this information more real time? And how do we build models that can leverage that information real time to then feed back immediately into what we're doing with customers?
Yeah, brilliant. I love the feedback loop part of that. Giuseppe, anything, or Michal, anything you'd like to add there?
Yes, I hope my microphone is better right now. So confirm.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So of course, in the after what I think, I find the additional way to have better sound. So I think that everything what was said is absolutely wise thing. But I think additional what is important is to have a way to figure out, is it really relevant for my customers? And I think that's why the experimenting is so important, to find the MVP, which will help you to test and learn fast, instead of having 18 months project where you will implement this technology and then figure out that it's used by 1% of your clients or less. So I think on the top what was said, I would say that find a way to check quickly, is it really so needed for your client base?
Brilliant, thanks, Michal. That's awesome. So,
actually,
go on, Dylan.
So important what Michal's saying there, because traditional approaches to do surveys and ask lots of questions and have a groups which will kind of stimulate each other and come up with the right answers. The issue is when you put it to the customer and they are by themselves in front of their, at the decision, are they going to click and decide, yeah, this is what I want or not? And that moment of truth only really figured out when they are put in situ. And so I've seen many businesses actually launch and fail because all the feedback they were getting from customers was 100% agree, yeah, great. And then when it comes to it, just not really doing it for them. And so I think it is about, Michal's completely right, try it out, test, learn, iterate, and then and if you've come to a decision that actually even the iteration and you've optimized for the issues that were arising initially and it doesn't work, then ditch it and move on. And that's part of the kind of the mindset change that is required. It's actually suddenly, especially in the insurance world where we don't like risk, in reality, we don't like it at all. We like certainty, which is the kind of the slight kind of oxymoron of what we're doing. But I think what's really important is actually having the faith in actually thinking that we're not failing when an experiment goes wrong. We are learning. If you change your mindset, it's actually the mindset of all the tech companies. It's just think about, it's more important to learn than it is necessarily to fail. And eventually, after all those iterations and all those tests, you will find something that works, and that will be a big success and victory. That victory has only arisen from all the previous failures I've got there. I think that's what's really important in bearing in mind and changing the mindset. And that has to think about how you organize your team, how you incentivize people, because that becomes a real problem when you've got somebody who's in charge of a P&L. You know, do I make a decision to actually test this new thing, as opposed to I do what I know what to do to get my bonus and to get the numbers that I'm meant to be delivering. I think that's where the real challenge lies for established insurance companies.
Thanks, Dylan. Yeah, no. Go ahead, Elena.
So to Michal and Dylan's point about learning and failing and experimenting, I think one of the really important things that we need to keep on mind is to bring always our people on board. And it would sound strange that I'm from technological companies, speak so much about people, but we know and we see, especially during different projects, how important is to gain stakeholders' trust or people's trust, claims handlers' trust or agents' trust in what we are doing, and also to explain to them and have the technology which is explicative, and they may understand what it means and what the results that are being produced means and why are they, and to give them also an opportunity to monitor them and to enhance them with their input. So I think that's a really important dimension to consider, is that every time when we introduce these innovative applications and think about new challenges within our organization, we need to ensure we bring our people on board, and especially those who are customer facing, because if they don't believe, they will not be bringing their results.
Elena, that's a great comment, and we have a question that kind of touches upon that as well. You know, bringing people along on the journey, right? People, you know, we talk about digital transformation and thinking about customer experience, and you know, culturally bringing people on that journey is critical to success. And we have a question around that. It's quite a lengthy one, but I think I can sum it up in terms of how do we shift the employee focus from output to outcome, which is a slightly different approach, and I think one that's kind of touches upon that. Giuseppe, I think you perhaps wanted to add some thoughts to that one.
Yeah, look, it's you're hitting the nail on the head. So look, it's I believe two things. One is bringing on board enough fresh new blood. Second is the MBO, right? And so what I mean is, at the end of the day, if you think about the insurance industry, the industry has been around for, I don't know, 150 to 100 years. And there is a bunch of, it's very much an expertise-driven industry, and the experts are siloed. So if you're born as an underwriter, you will retire as an underwriter. If you're born as a claims and as an actuary, and so on and so forth. And those people don't speak with each other, right? This is where there is a fundamental failure of the end-to-end view of the value chain. Now, those people, the true expert does a BAU job. There is value in doing the same thing a zillion times over 30 years to earn the credibility that you are trustworthy, which to me is fundamentally wrong, maybe for the lack of a better wording. So what we need to do, I think, going back to the first dimension, bringing in fresh new blood, is to say, look, you really want to make it work, especially if you have a BAU team. You need to change a third of the team, a third out, a third in. Not overnight, but you need to do it. When you do a list of a third team new, including people not coming, you know, from the insurance industry, you will see that the super tanker is starting to move a bit. And the second thing is about MBO, right? Those people typically refuse to do stuff, and there is no transparency on the MBO. It has to be clear. Look, you know what? You want to get a bonus at the end of the year. Last year you were delivering that much of BAU. This year you need to deliver this much of BAU and this much of innovation. And if you're going to fail in innovation, you're not going to get a bonus. And this is where you need to have you need to be consistent in that. So the MBO has to be specific, consistent, transparency. Transparency is super important. And then, you know, the line manager has to have the gut to put the MBO in place.
Thanks, Giuseppe. And anybody else like to add their thoughts to that particular point? Bringing people on this journey, critical.
So I had the pleasure of having an experience of being an intrapreneur before being an entrepreneur, which I got to understand some of the challenges that arise. It's also about, I think Giuseppe's points are phenomenal and really worthy. There's also another element which I think is about how the organization decides to promote or encourage the risk-taking innovation. And I think there is an element of, very often, there are not many organizations which manage to create innovators, or create a new division or a new business line with people from within. And partly is because there is a path to go up the ranks, which is, and if you're a good member of the team, you know what your path to getting to the top is. So why would you go off and take the risk of doing something which has got 90% chance of failure, because that effectively is going to, and that will be then a black mark against your name because you did this project which was a failure. That's how the organization will see it. And I think this is why there is a shift, mind shift, and this has to come from the top of saying, you know what, people who try this out, they're the heroes. Whatever the outcome is, the heroes. And that changes the mindset. And instead of having people that you're having to bring from, because by the way, if you're having to bring someone from the outside to be your kind of your project innovator, or having somebody who's a kind of a non-performer to become the kind of project innovator, you're reducing your chances of success, because they're having to build the network in the organization to get the support internally, to then be able to kind of make it happen on the outside. And I think that's some of the kind of the challenges that arise for those kind of those innovators. And there is a clear change of mindset and of recognition, risk-taking that needs to take place.
Thanks, Dylan. I appreciate that. And I did want to get to this question, so I think it's quite it's a good one, and we've only got about five or 6 minutes left. So as we're thinking about experimenting, testing, being able to build products in a kind of safe test environment, how can insurers streamline that move from taking experiments into building production customer-centric applications? And Elena, I think that question we received was kind of directed to you initially, so I'll let you have a go at it. But yeah, we've only got about 5 minutes left, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I kind of touched upon this before, and I think one of the key points is to ensure that we have people dimension. Let's say we have the right people on board, business people especially on board from the very beginning, that help us understand the process and help us also understand what is then the real interaction with the customer looks like. So there are a few things that we need to consider. Obviously, the experimentation overall should be done in an environment that allows scalability. And that's definitely something that helps them to streamline and to ensure that we are able to scale from an application that we just test to something that we work in an environment if the test really goes well. But so to have an environment that allows us to turn on, switch off, but then also easily scale, but also to have the clarity in algorithms, and that clarity that then allows to create the trust from people. So the algorithms, all the algorithms should be explainable. We will never gain success with claims handlers if we continue to give them a scoring on the potential fraudulent claims without giving them a view on why those claims are being scored in a certain way, or why we are providing to the agents this type of prospects, and what's the logic behind. They will never trust and they will never execute. So I think that, again, the openness of these algorithms it needs to be absolutely guaranteed. And of course, then to be able to monitor the results constantly, and to be able then to adapt and change quickly to anything that competition is doing that we see on external market that our customers are sharing with us as inputs.
Thank you, Elena. Does anybody else have any comments there about how we can move from test to production efficiently?
Yeah.
Melanie.
Chris, I would just reiterate again some of what Elena said. So what we learned when we started with our STEP project was you have to have an iterative view of how this is going to work. Start with your first MVP and know that that's not going to be the end result. Know that you are going to iterate and make sure that people understand that it won't be, 18 months and we'll deliver a platinum plated version of this. We will iterate to that platinum version. Second thing, which has been said a couple of times, is permission to fail. You have to be able to fail a couple of times to get something the way that you want it. That feedback loop that we've all discussed is essential. Once you've built something, test and learn, understand what customers think works, understand how you need to adapt. And then Elena's final point was spot on: scale. You have to be able to, once you've built your MVP up and up and up, you have to be able to scale that out. That was our learning.
Thanks, Melanie. And I think that ties in a wee bit with what Dylan was saying about being able to fail and not have it be a black mark on your legacy. Michal, anything you'd like to share as we wrap up?
Yeah, so as Melanie said, it's making step by step, but same time you should have this ambition in mind. You should have this big picture and really big ambitions to create something which won't be a small change only in the end, of course, but getting that, but by doing steps by steps, but combining these two things, so the scaled ambition and the reasonable small steps, I think that's the best combination.
Thanks, Michal. Giuseppe, any final comments?
No, I think all spot on. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, Dylan, I'll give you a quick moment to add something. We've got a couple of minutes, so we're all good.
I think on that topic, I think we've covered it all.
Fantastic. All right. Well, look, I want to thank all of you. We're right on time, a couple of minutes to spare. This has been a terrific conversation that I think we could probably easily spend another hour or two diving into some of these other topics. But these are still trying times, and I think that when we think about the customer journey, I think we're hearing more frequently people talk about empathy and compassion along that journey, and especially when it comes to claims. And I think that the industry as a whole, incumbents and insurtechs alike, are doing some terrific work to help drive a more empathetic and compassionate insurance journey. So I look forward to all of you seeing what all of you continue to do and build and create and so forth to help us get to that point where insureds are very well looked after across that whole journey. So thank you to everybody for tuning in, listening. It's been great to have you, and look forward to catching up again in the future. Cheers.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.